Hello, hello. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to Lower Lap Time. I hope you guys are doing well. It was good to chat with you guys a little bit earlier on, just before the live stream. A big live stream coming your way, Singapore GP, full technical track, big event in terms of the championship because we had Baku, Monza, low downforce. You know, Max can just do the Max thing. What's going to happen this weekend? The last time we went high downforce at this level, I'm thinking more like Netherlands, Hungary. And McLaren were hammering. So we're back to high downforce here, guys. So welcome. Singapore live stream, like I say, big one coming your way. I'll just quickly run through the agenda. Before I do, hello, everyone. Hector Maldonado, watching the stream on my way to work. Excellent, Matt. I'm happy that I can just bring you guys a little bit of F1 content, insights, discussion, you know, during your day-to-day lives. Johan Finstra, guys, be real. Max only has 5% or less of a chance, I'm assuming, chance to win this world championship. It's more of a media thing. I'm a big Max fan, but this is the reality. It's slim, but it's possible. And if anyone can get it done, like surely it's Max, right? So we'll wait and see. I mean, that's why I think this weekend's going to be a big one. Last one here, K Mbappe fan. Lando said that Max and Red Bull are now on McLaren's level in the press conference. Lando, what are you doing, mate? Like Lando loves to just take the pressure off. Take the pressure off. No expectations. It's not about us. We don't have the best car. And then, like, you know, I just feel like Lando, that's his personality and his nature is to take the pressure off in that way. All right. Let's make you a nice haircut. Thank you. It's been a little while. So yeah, thanks very much. All right. So just quickly run through the agenda. We'll go from there. So we'll talk about the weather first. Key drive, like it's going to be a big live stream. So just try to hang on and follow me, guys. There'll be time for questions at the end, but I do want to get your question on the update with the Max's steering wheel toggle thing as well. So yeah, weather, key drivers approach and mentality, any track, car, reg updates. No street circuit rule for this weekend. I'm going to explain to you why I've scrapped my street circuit rule just for this weekend. Just a few things on Carlos Sainz, driving insights that I wanted to highlight to you guys, and an update on Max's push-pull toggle, which we spoke about towards the end of the last race weekend, and giving you guys an update on what I've learned out of that. Track map opportunities. We'll go through the technical corners on the track. I'll show you guys around. Straight line braking and straight line traction is a big thing here this weekend as well, with the downforce, of course. Compound strategy, tire limitations, predictions, restarts, questions from the floor, and the summary at the end. How's that? All in 1 hour. Fingers crossed. All right, let's talk about the weather. I'll bring it up. We'll crack on. I always put this first because I just feel like it's the context for the weekend. This is what we're going to be running in this weekend. Let's have a look at it. So hopefully you can see that on the screen. So warm, hot, 30, McLaren territory, high downforce and warm. But look at this, rain in FP2. Interesting, because that's normally your quali sim. Like, particularly in these sort of places, like when it's like Abu Dhabi and Singapore and the time zone and everything. I don't know, I just feel like FP2 is really representative of quali. Have a look at that. Your representation is going to be done here and then bang, you're into qualifying. It's going to be tricky, therefore, to get quali prep in. Where do you do your quali homework? Well, maybe in the morning, I guess, Saturday morning. And it doesn't seem like the race is going to be run in rain or qualifying will be run in rain. So I'm not sure how significant this big shower, like 17 mil is decent, will be on Friday afternoon. Not heaps of wind, but a bit of wind around as well. And then, guys, I love this graph. I never give this slide enough justice. I'm going to spend a little second on this. This is mad. So because I keep showing you this, but I don't give it the proper, you know, the proper acknowledgement that it gets. This is a mad slide. So this tells you when that rain is going to come, like, and you can see the Friday rain is going to come 2, 3, 4 p.m. afternoon. I'm not sure when the FP2 practice is exactly local time. But I think it's later, perhaps it's later. So anyway, maybe a wet FP2, but it also tells us the wind direction. Have a look at this. This is crazy. This is all over the place. And then in purple, you've got the magnitude. So that's mad as well. We're looking at the race over here, Sunday. Well, this is Sunday morning. A little bit of a wind increase Sunday morning. Shows you where the rain is happening. In red, I believe, is your temperature. I don't know. This is mad. So if you want to come back to this later on in the weekend, and have a look at, when the rain or what the wind is doing, etc. I've never seen this, but this is strange. All this wind direction all over the place. This is not what we had in Baku. It was pretty much coming from north or northeast in Baku, strong as well. So anyway, hot, rainy, humid probably, I must say as well. Check this out, guys. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this. There's been an update this weekend with these vests. I'll read out what it says here. In accordance with Article 26.19 of the sporting regulations, having received a forecast from the official weather service predicting their heat index will be greater than 31 degrees. So that must be their cutoff, maybe 31. I don't know. Someone in the chat, let me know. At some time during the race, this event, a heat hazard is declared. Ooh. And so they need to wear these vests. Apparently, everyone's got to wear these vests, and it's going to add 5 kilos to the minimum weight of the car. I don't know, guys. What do you guys think about this? For me, I'm like, well, two things. 30, like that's what we saw, right? Hang on, let's go back a few steps. 30 is not, for me, I'm from Australia. 30 is not the end of the world. Yes, it's hot. I think the humidity is kind of more annoying because dry heat versus humid heat. 30 is not the end of the world for me. And the other thing is Singapore is not, it's not those long, sapping, high-speed, fully loaded G-force corners that you've got in Qatar, for example. So given that like, we're not talking about 40 here, and then drivers are just kind of going around like, we'll talk to the track map in a second, but they are working hard in there. Like, I'm not going to play it down, but it's definitely not Qatar level. Qatar with that speed and G-force is just sapping and draining. And I don't know. So I don't know what you guys think about this, but let me know in the chat. I'll tell you one thing. I think Max, if there's a driver that's going to be like, what's this all about? I think it's going to be Max. Max will be like, oh, come on, guys, let's just go racing. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, call me old fashioned, call me a little bit, but then there is a health element here as well. And then where do you draw the line between health? I get it. Safety and health, absolutely. But I don't know. 30 degrees in Singapore, I'm like, come on. I think we can cut it. Yeah, so let me know in the chat what you guys think if Jerome Van Gastel found any secret buttons. Yeah, we'll talk to it. It's in the agenda. Don't worry, we'll get to it. Let me know in the chat what you guys think about this, this whole situation. Again, for safety, I understand it, but I just think, and maybe not 30 and maybe not Singapore. Have a look at this, guys. I wanted to, as we move into part 2, key drivers approach and drivers mentality for this weekend. I've been following Tim Zhu. He's an Australian boxer. I'm not that into boxing. Like, I couldn't tell you what category he is. I couldn't tell you anything more than that. But he's an Australian boxer, used to be a world champion, and I follow him on social media. And I think he was a world champion in 2023. And recently he's lost it twice to the same guy who I do know his name, Sebastian Fondora. Now, when Tim Zhu posted a photo on his social media about his loss to Sebastian Fondora, everyone in the comments said, Tim, it's your personal team. It's your coaches. It's your mentors. It's your strategy. It's your tactics. You need to sack your team. Words to this effect. Like, and if you go through Tim Zhu's Instagram page and you find these posts, you'll see what I'm talking about with regards to the comments there. So interesting, because I was just reading that and I was like, well, isn't that an ongoing thing in F1? Isn't that like, I keep hearing from Franco Colapinto's team that he grew up with these coaches and they've been with him from day one. They have to support him. They're the ones that got him to Formula One. So then, they have to stay. Or Lewis, for example, with Angela, like, I'm sure she's doing a great job, but as it relates to driving technique, I'm not sure Angela fits or adds anything there, for example. So then I saw this week. I'm going to share it with you guys now. I'm excited to share it with you guys. Have a listen to what Tim Zhu has done, and we'll talk about how I think this relates to F1. Let's have a look.
After my last loss, I felt like I needed a change with different game plan. So part of the new team is Darcy, Mike.
I'm very excited about the team we're putting together for Tim. So thus far we are building the Australian super team. So we've welcomed Mike Altamira onto the team.
Sometimes you need a bit of a freshen up and a different mentality. That's where I can impact and ensuring that he makes a full pathway back to reaching all his goals in the sport.
got Jeff being an advisor, mentor type role. I'm coming in with a whole new, different mindset. Everyone's just going to come on board and witness history. Tune in, watch, because you're going to witness something. There's no particular reason, because I'm very grateful for what the boys did for me, especially my coach Igor. He started with me before I was even professional, back in my amateur days, you know. But I feel like I just wanted a little change. I feel like I'm in that position right now to have that little change. And yeah, it's sort of just, I'm coming in with this mentality that as this is the 2.0, this is my next chapter rather than my other losses. I should have changed little things around, and this is my time now.
So I don't know about you guys, but like, do you not feel like that Lewis should come out and say like that? This is the Lewis 2.0. I'm bringing a full new team. I'm going to come at it and give it absolutely everything. And do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like, isn't that the mentality of a world champion? Like, I'm going to reinvent myself and I'm coming at it from a different perspective and with a different look and a new team. And yeah, my old guys were great and I'm grateful for them, but time to move on, time to change, time to learn and time to grow. I don't know. I just feel like tennis and this now, boxing, they're on another level in terms of the individual performance team. And F1 is just nowhere near it, unfortunately, at the moment. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. If you want to watch it back, you just look at his eyes, look at his mentality, look at what he's saying. I'd love to get Philippe's, like we do the Mind and Machine podcast with Philippe. He's the mindset performance coach. I'd love to get his input on that. I reckon he'd be like, yeah, tick. What have you got to lose? You were world champion. You're getting hammered. Make a change. And it's like that old saying, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. So I just feel like, yeah, that's awesome. And I wish, if I could just call out two drivers that I wish could have that mentality, I just wish I could give that to them, would be Franco and Lewis. They're the two drivers. If you know of more, put it in the chat. But yeah, let's have a look at some of you guys' comments. We'll take your comments as I go through. Lewis has given up. Jerome Van Gastel. Okay, Luke Mann. Lewis is just too high of a position to say that, I guess. Wasn't that really like came from a place of humility from Tim? Is like, I'm just gonna introducing all the new team members, their roles, like they got together and had a group photo. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. What are you guys talking about with the temperatures now as well? Let's have a look. How much hotter does it feel on the track? If air temp is 31, the track must be 40. Yeah, I guess it would be hotter, but without the sun as well, maybe because of what time they run. I'm not sure. So yeah, the humidity is a killer. Max flash hard as well. So yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on Hudie Mac. Lewis has trouble with the mental side of things. I'd love to get your thoughts on whether or not you think that mindset from Tim. I'm just like, yeah, you can't fault that. He's going to have a go and crack on. Let's move into chapter 3 of this section. Any car, track, reg updates. We already spoke about the driver's vest thing. Just wanted to touch on Piastri's jump start and why he will not carry an additional grid penalty into this weekend. He got handed with a 5-second penalty for the jump start in Baku, but because he crashed out of the race at turn 5, you know, what does that mean for the 5-second penalty? Everyone was wondering, is there any carryover? Same thing happened with Lando actually in Canada. He crashed into Piastri, got a 5-second penalty, but because he crashed and was out of the race, then you can't serve that penalty. So then should there be carryover is the question, and I'll show you guys now. Let me bring it up. So this is what they say. In cases where there is a single 5-second penalty, which a driver is unable to serve due to the retirement, so that was Oscar, the stewards will not convert that into a grid penalty for subsequent race. However, if there is more than one penalty, the stewards may convert the 5-second and other penalties into a grid penalty. So it looks like it's at stewards' discretion as to whether they carry race weekend penalties over into the next one. The rationale for this is that the offences of a minor order typically attract the lowest 5-second penalty, so carrying them forward into a grid penalty would be considered excessive. Fair enough, I actually agree with that. In this case, Piastri received no competitive advantage by jumping the start. Not only did he halt immediately, he did not interfere with any other competitors' races before eliminating himself by hitting. Wow, that reads bad, doesn't it? Before eliminating himself before hitting the wall. Wow. So there you go, guys. I thought in section 3 of this video, of this live stream, we just talk about why that's not a case. Wanted to talk to you guys about the street circuit rule and why I haven't got it in for this weekend. So my street circuit rule basically says in street circuits, some street circuits, I'll show them on the whiteboard to you guys now. But it essentially says, like, in your Monacos, your Vegases, your Baku, any place where I think that a crash or an accident can just cut your confidence down, then, you know, you really need to build yourself a weekend. Put together a weekend, put together a practice 1, put together a practice 2, build your confidence, you know, clean the track, let the track come to you. You don't go to the track. So don't chase the lap time. Let the lap time just come naturally through evolution. Anyway, so that's in place for Monaco, Baku, and Vegas because a crash just cuts your confidence. So I'll just give you guys a bit more context on that. You guys can see that on the whiteboard. Yep, cool. So this is what we spoke about in Baku last time out, actually. Yeah, and we'll talk about the results and who built themselves a weekend and who didn't, because you'll notice a lot of guys crashed in practice and qualifying. But I'm essentially saying, if I just draw in blue, yeah, you build your confidence up. I'll make that a bit bigger. You build your confidence up through the weekend, and you want to reach peak confidence in qualifying, and just carry that through to the race. And a drop in confidence, as you can see in red over here, means that you're just never going to reach that lap time. It's worth about anywhere between 0 to 0.5 tenths of a second, the street circuit rule. So I apply that Monaco, Baku, Vegas. This weekend is a little bit different. I just feel like you're not like... There's a couple of factors at play. Firstly, the grip level in Singapore, the track itself offers a lot more grip than a Monaco or a Baku or a Vegas. Secondly, you got downforce this weekend. Downforce is your friend. Downforce is going to help keep the car on the track. So you're braking with downforce, you're cornering with downforce. You're not necessarily on throttle with downforce because cornering speeds are quite low. So it won't be that significant. It'll still be kind of low, but you're braking with a lot of downforce and cornering with a lot of downforce as well. So it's easy to keep the mid corner alive and makes your exit a lot easier. So I feel like it's safer from that point of view. A clip with the ball, I don't think it's going to do much for your confidence. Just bring it back in, go again. The track will be just as good and just as nice to drive. Baku, Monaco, and Vegas, I just think they're a little bit different. You crash there and you're like, oof, the walls just, they move in ever so slightly. Whereas I think Singapore just has, I don't know whether it's the corners or the nature of the corners and the chicanes and stuff. They're a little bit separated in places to the wall, and just feel like there's a bit more breathing room in Singapore. But check this out. Wasn't the street circuit rule bang on in Baku? These are the results. You know, race 1 by Verstappen, then Russell, then Sainz, then Antonelli. These guys all built themselves a weekend. Verstappen, faultless, flawless. Russell, likewise. I mean, what a drive. Sainz, amazing weekend. Quali, Antonelli built himself a good weekend. No accidents. Bang, bang, bang. You've got to go down here to P7 to find Lando, who had the accident. I think he had one in practice. I can't remember them all now. There was heaps in qualifying. And so the top 6 or top 7 were all like flawless weekends. And that's all they did. Like, for Lando to beat them, all he would have had to do is just complete the weekend, you know, trouble free. So that would have found him spots automatically, just through confidence and not making mistakes and so on. So I think the street circuit rule definitely, and if you've watched if you've been following Monaco like year on year, you'll know that the street circuit rule is a big one. So yeah, downforce is back, and I think that I'm going to scrap the street circuit rule for this weekend. All right, I wanted to talk to you about Carlos Sainz's crash. I'll bring it up, 2024 at this track in Singapore. It was an interesting crash. I'll show you guys it now. And what I wanted to hear from you guys, and we'll go through it. There's a bump on the exit at the final corner. So I'll show it to you on the whiteboard. Where's my Singapore track map? So this was Carlos's crash. I can't play the tape, but on the whiteboard, as you can see, the final corner is this one, the fast 18 and 19 over here. So this is where Carlos crashed. I'll draw it in red. He crashed over here. So I wanted to ask you guys in the chat, why did Carlos Sainz? What was the mistake that Carlos made? It's pretty technical. It's pretty interesting. What was the mistake that Carlos made? Because that bump is there. It's always there. So Carlos hitting a bump and going into the wall doesn't stack up. So what was the mistake that Carlos made in this part of the racetrack in qualifying to crash this Ferrari in the final corner in Singapore? Go. Whack it in the chat. First one gets a prize of some kind. Let me know. There's always a 45-second delay on the live stream, so I'm going to be watching the chat closely. Tire temp, Enzo. It could be, but I don't think it's. I mean, it could be, but Singapore is 400 degrees. I'm not going to say tire temp. I don't think it's that one. Davidus, I thought cold tires. Okay. So 2 for cold tires. Possible. Luke Man, wrong curb riding technique. The bump is not, I think it's a mid-track. It's a bump sitting in the middle of the track. So I'm not sure on that one. Crashed in free practice, was it? Okay. And then too much throttle. Okay, it's going to be tricky because let me share with you my thoughts on it. Let's have a look. So I'll share with you my thoughts. You guys tell me if this stacks up. The one thing I noticed about, so I'll go back to the track map. Let me have a look. How can I explain this best? The one thing I noticed about, so we'll draw where the bump is. I'll draw it in red. It's like over here somewhere, isn't it? Yeah. The one thing I noticed about where Carlos's approach to this lap, I can't remember, was it quali or race? I thought it was quali. But he backed off a little bit here for traffic. Backed off. And then made a change to put the car in race mode, quali mode, whatever mode push. And then accelerated from here and started the hot lap. So what does that mean? Well, if you come through this chicane here and then gun it to the final corner, you've got downforce. Downforce is your friend. Downforce works with speed. Speed and downforce are your friends. When you hit this bump here, the car's going to resettle nicely across that bump. You're not going to feel it because downforce is significantly active when you attack the final corner. Carlos didn't do that. He didn't attack the final corner. He just made his little change here, accelerated from slow speed, went through his bump, bang, straight to the scene of the accident. Let's have a look at this as you guys tell me if this stacks up and makes sense. So this is where Carlos is still fumbling around on the steering wheel. You can see the pit lane entry over here on the left. And then it comes up mode push. And then he attacks the final corner, hits the bump, and off he goes. Yeah, could be a bit of tire temperature, but I'd argue that if Carlos attacked the final corner, starting his run from further back, carrying the speed and downforce, I'd argue that the Ferrari would resettle. So that's what, like, just maybe keep an eye out for that this weekend. Where do the drivers start to attack? Like, if you exaggerate this example a little bit further, what are you going to accelerate from here? No, what you need to do is attack your final chicane, run quickly, build the speed and downforce into the final corner, attack the final corner, and away you go. I understand that he was waiting for traffic and whatever, but you need to sort that out back over here because the final corner is one you want to be attacking onto the main straight. Remember, speed and downforce are your friends. If this is speed and this is downforce, this is how they work. Bang, like that. At 0 kilometers per hour, you're generating no downforce. At something here, 50, there's a little bit. At 100, there's a bit more. At 200, bang, you're finding all your downforce at the top end. You really got to chuck the car at the corner. Bang, Lukeman Hakim gets it. I see. Slow speed means low downforce. Exactly. The downforce doesn't work when the car's not moving. So you got to kick off your lap a little bit earlier. I think that's why. And that kind of makes sense. Enzo, loss of downforce due to low speed. Good on you, champ. All the best. That's a good one. Okay. Awesome. So I wanted to tell you guys that because I feel like it's insightful this weekend as we head into Singapore. Last corner, qualifying. Everyone's going to be getting their little gaps and everything. Can happen again. If you don't know the mechanism, if you don't know why it happened, you'll do it again. I wanted to also talk to you guys about Carlos Sainz's restart in Baku. I don't know, guys. We spoke about this in the Baku live stream and we said if Max gets the opportunity to kick off a safety car restart, where should he do it from? We do this every weekend. I'll bring up the track map as well. I wasn't the biggest fan of Max's location and choice, but I thought Carlos kind of missed an opportunity as well. Let's have a look. So what did we say? Well, we said this is Baku, by the way. This is safety car restart. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm just talking about Carlos at the moment. We said, what's his name? Race leader has an opportunity to kick the race off here, the exit of the final corner, 16. We said that depending on how easy or not it is to overtake, and given that it's probably going to be tricky to overtake, then in that case, 16 presents an option. Otherwise, somewhere through here is an option as well. But over here, it starts to get a bit late. You have to go at that point. So given that the way the race was running and that it was quite difficult to pass, we knew that already, and that there's no DRS on the safety car restart, I think Max's safest shot would have been out of 16. He will be the first one to open the steering wheel. He'll be the first one to exit 16. He'll be the first one to put his foot down. There'll be a little bit of aero wash through 18, 19 with cold tires and everything, Carlos behind. There's no DRS, like I say. I think that was the safest place to go. Max didn't do that. That's fine. And it was interesting. I don't know if you guys saw a little bit of extra effort required from Max. He's doing this the whole way, just weaving. And I know he's thinking at this point, when do I go? Like, when do I go? And it gets worse as you go. It kind of gets later and later. And Max is weaving. And unfortunately, he's tricked Carlos to do the same thing. Guys, I keep talking about the importance of the steering wheel being straight. When the steering wheel is straight, you've got traction capacity, you've got acceleration capacity, you've got braking capacity. The steering wheel straight is your best friend. And so if I'm Carlos here, all I'm doing is just following like this. Whenever you're ready, Max, whenever you're ready, whenever you want to straighten that steering wheel and go, I'm keeping it straight. That's what I would have done if I was Carlos. Carlos, man, I don't know. He got tricked into, I might as well warm my tires as well. Max sees that out of the corner of his eye in the mirror and says, thank you very much, Carlos. I'm going to straighten the wheel and get out of here. And I was like, Carlos, what are you doing, man? You had an opportunity there. That was a golden opportunity for Carlos Sainz. I don't know. You let me know in the chat if I'm reading this wrong. I feel like Carlos blew it. Let's bring it up. I'll show you guys. So there's Max weaving. Carlos with the steering wheel straight. I'm happy at this point. I'm like, Carlos, you're doing good. All you got to do is get your run on Max, accelerate, just predict a little bit and just go and then stop and go again and just keep attacking the back of that Red Bull with the steering wheel straight. I'm happy at this point, right? Then Carlos puts the steering lock in and Max goes, and you notice when Carlos goes for throttle, he gets a little bit of a slide as well. I don't know, guys. This was frustrating to watch. I was like, come on, Carlos, keep the steering wheel straight, brother. The moment he turns, that does nothing for your tires, Carlos. So you might as well just keep the steering wheel straight. Wow, that's such a good comment. Make you never bring your guard down. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm looking for. This one made me sad. I'm going to be honest, because I thought that Max kind of, like we've spoken about this before, like just with the restarts, I just feel like, I don't know. I don't think it was the best place. I think if Max had have gone out of 16, like with no DRS, there's no way Carlos coming past. All Max got to do is pull to the inside and defend. Whereas in this situation, when it dragged on and on and on, Carlos was there straight. I don't know. I just feel like missed opportunity from Carlos. Mohit, spot on, Martin. That's exactly what happened. Max tricked him. How could you be so gullible though? How could you be baited so badly? There's no way I would put any lock into the wheel at all, particularly from low speed and low downforce. We just spoke about how downforce is not significantly active at those slow speeds. Just keep the wheel straight. But anyway, you guys are going to increase my blood pressure. That was a bad one. So just wanted to talk to you guys about that because it highlights the importance of the steering wheel straight. And we speak about it all the time. We speak about the defensive posture off the line, angling your car to the inside with the steering wheel straight means you don't need to put steering lock in to get to your defensive position. That's a win. We speak about it with straight line braking. We speak about it with straight line traction. We speak about it with wet weather and short corners, keeping the steering wheel straight on the exit. So there's all these little advantages and you'll come across them. Even the teams have adjusted their pit lane garages on an angle now so that when the driver comes in, he can just brake straight into the box. He doesn't need to put steering in at the critical moment. So it's just so important. And I feel like one of Max's advantages is that he's just more conscious of the steering wheel condition at more times in the race and at more times in the weekend. And I think if you watch my Brazil 2024 analysis, I'm comparing Max with short corners versus Lando. Max always gets his rotation done quickly, opens the steering wheel and accelerates like with the car straight. And that was pretty much it. Like that was the underlying technique as to why Max hammered everyone in Brazil 24. Have a look at that video. It's an interesting video. It's not like my most fancy piece of editing, but the techniques and everything, Brazil 2024 Max Lando comparison video. It's all about keeping the steering wheel straight. So yeah, and like I said with the defensive posture, I'll draw it out for you guys because I'm a big fan of that one as well. So if you're going this way, you're going north, track is here, and turn 1 is a right-hander like that, and pole position on the racing line, and P2 over here. I always say like angle your car across to the inside so that when you start, you don't need to put steering in. You can just go straight to the defensive position. And in that critical acceleration phase, the steering wheel straight. You're going to get here first. Then you can put the steering wheel in and resume your defense thereafter. But what a lot of drivers do is go straight ahead. Oh, I'm under attack. That little steering input there costs you massively. Like I can't highlight to you how much it costs you. When you're shifting up through first, second, third, you put your steering in to defend. That's rubbish. You don't want to do that. That's very rookie, very amateur. The preset allows you to keep the steering wheel straight. It's very important. So that's the same principle that I think Carlos failed on with the restart. Comment. Think downforce like aeroplanes, fast to go lift. 100%. This is how I explain it as well. Like there's a reason why when you're moving on the runway, it takes a while for that lift, reverse downforce, uplift, lift to build. When the speed is enough, then you lift. Nothing else happens other than the plane gets speed. So yeah, 100% speed and downforce, friends. Okay, take a drink. Big section coming up now, the push-pull toggle. Now, guys, you guys helped me a lot in the last video. I'm going to give you some context as to why I was a little bit suspicious about Max's steering wheel and the changes that we're making. We're going to go through it all now. I want to get your comments as we go through, not necessarily comments, but like questions, like correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you agree with this. Tell me if you disagree and why. I just want to, in this section, I just want to be clear so that we can get to the bottom of it. Okay, so the context is I watched the Baku pole position lap from Max. Oh, and by the way, the reason that this is important this weekend is because we're going to have more of this weekend. More switch changes, optimizing the car during the track, during the corners, during the lap. Yeah, it could be another Max masterclass this weekend. Look, man, here come the Max fanboys. Hopefully they've backed off me now that I've pivoted a little bit from being suspicious to now I'm like, okay, fair play. I've kind of come across that way. Look, there are some hills that I'm willing to die on. The short corners, the 7 technical corners, the speed and downforce, the steering wheel straight. These are all my philosophies. I'm willing to die on those hills. They always hold true. This one, I was suspicious, curious. I wasn't all in, but I was confident. And then, you know, I don't bat 1,000, but at least if I make a mistake, I'm going to come out and say, yeah, that was not the right way to go. So in this one, I've pivoted. So like I say, I want to get your thoughts and comments as we go through. So I'm going to firstly give you the context as to why I was suspicious and curious about this steering wheel, the investigation work that I've done, where we've landed now, and what we can expect this weekend. So the reason I was a little bit suspicious was because there was a story here. There was like, it wasn't just one thing. There was like 4 or 5 things that I'd seen with the Red Bull steering wheel where I was like, hang on a minute. Like what's going on here? There wasn't just one thing like a change, something. There was like 4 or 5 things. And I was like, well, there's enough there for a story. Like I was putting together a narrative based on everything I'd seen. So, so the first thing I'm going to run through those things now as to how I was putting that narrative together. And then we're going to go through and tick them off or cross them off as to how we can understand that. The first thing is the Red Bull steering wheel is usually very black. We usually don't get to see it. I'll bring it up for you guys now. Like we normally don't get a glance of it. So this is how it looked in the Monza pole position. No news here. I've never seen the Red Bull steering wheel beforehand. I know that there are videos like in Saudi Arabia pole where you can see it, but I didn't see it there personally. This was the Silverstone pole. It's pitch black. You can't see anything. And then the next one, this was the Japan pole, Suzuka. You can't see anything. So the first thing I was like, we never see the steering wheel, or at least we see the steering wheel very rarely, like the changes flashing up. For example, if you watch a Mercedes or McLaren or whatever, you'll see the changes flash up. Williams is another good example. And I'm always like, what's going on there? How come we never see it? So either they're doing something with the brightness, or it's the angle of the steering wheel, or it's the camera, something like that. We never like, it's very rare to see the steering wheel of Max at least. So then when we get to see the steering wheel in Baku and it's flashing up in all these crazy places, I'm like, hang on, what's going on here? So I think it was worth questioning. But like I said, I'm going to share my learnings, our learnings with you now. That's the first thing. The steering wheel is usually quite dark. The second thing was the warm button. So actually, before I show you, I'll show you guys the steering wheel. This is Max's steering wheel. I'll bring it up for you guys now. There's this button over here. This red button doesn't have a label on this image. But if I go next shot, you'll see Max's left thumb hitting that one. And yeah, apparently it's labeled warm. And I think it's flashed up B-Bell here, if I'm not mistaken. So then I was thinking about this and I'm like, hang on, what's the warm button? What is the warm button? Now, like, they don't need to be transparent to us as to what their buttons are labeled or as to what their buttons do. So, but again, it was just something that just adds to the story. What's the warm button? Now, it could be like Mercedes, they've got the magic button on the back of the steering, on the back of the Mercedes. You'll recall famously, I think it was 21, Hamilton in Baku, same track, left the magic button on, locked the front brakes heavily into turn one, lost the lead, slipped all the way back on that race restart after the red flag. So, yeah, that was the second thing, the warm button. I think we can get around that one at the moment. I'm not sure what's causing the black screen. I think we can get around the warm button and just say it's some sort of multifaceted button doing some stuff. That's all we know at the moment. Now, the third piece of evidence that I was looking at was like the places that Max is changing is like, I think I said it right in the video. I said it's not impossible, but geez, like to get your hand off the wheel and toggle the brake balance or even push a brake balance button in the middle of a chicane is not straightforward. It's not impossible, but it's not straightforward. And so I was looking at the locations that Max was making these changes and I was like, impressive or suspicious or curious or whatever. I'm like, hang on a minute. So let's have a look. So this was the first one between turn 5 and 6 chicane. There's something that flashes up here. So it's after turn 5. I'll go back to my Baku track map, show you guys where we are. It was here. Entry to 5, nothing happens, but then there's a change here, which is between turns 5 and 6 in the middle of the chicane. So there it is there. And when it flashes up that white box, that's how you know a change has been made. So that's a tough spot to make a change. So I was like, okay, cool. The next one was between turns 8, 9, 10, 11. This is the castle section. You'll see it on the track. You'll see it on the track map. I'll show you guys in a sec. But again, it flashes up something else. Again, that's a really narrow, I think it's the narrowest piece of track on the calendar. Probably not the time you want to go down with your thumbs and change something. So she goes on the whiteboard where we are. We're over here now. Coming through this section, there's a change that happens across there. So the Max is making changes in some interesting locations. So that was that. Now I think we got an answer for that one. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to everyone sharing the video. Thanks to everyone commenting on my previous video. I hadn't seen this video before, but have a listen to this. This is Max discussing his steering wheel with Marc Marquez in some sort of Honda collaboration. You can find it on YouTube. I'll drop a comment. I'll drop the link in below. But if you go back to my previous videos, you'll find it. But have a listen to this because I'm talking about the changes that are happening in very difficult places and how it's actually hard to make a change in those places. Have a listen to this.
Depends on the track layout. Like if a track has a lot of different corners where you have low speed, high speed corners, you need to change quite a bit. When it's all the same radius.
This is something unbelievable because in the end it's changing the feeling.
Yeah, on your braking, the turn in, or yeah. And then of course you have the differential. You know, you hear the entry diff, the middle of the corner diff, like diff mid, engine braking. So of course when you're off throttle, how aggressive the engine is. Yeah, a B-bowl. So it's again the way the rear brakes are also working. And then of course the clutch. Yeah.
So he's talking about the back of the steering wheel now because he's talking about the clutch.
Shifting. Yeah, so you can hold it.
This is nice.
Yeah, and then these are like a DRS toggle. So to open the DRS.
Yes.
And this is a toggle that I use for, again, like if one corner is following the next very quickly and I cannot use these buttons.
Bang, have a listen to this. If one corner is following the next very quickly and I cannot use these buttons,
Yeah.
I put it on this one so it's easier to activate, you know.
Okay.
It's just an easier toggle. And you can pull it or push it. It has two options.
So this is for the brakes too.
Yeah, in case, like, you know, sometimes you have one corner and then the next is very quickly,
Yeah.
and then you cannot do it like that. You just quickly, like with one finger, you pull the.
Many things. I say many times on motorbikes and here the same. Many persons are able to be fast.
Yeah, but
and
then the final.
have the skills to be fast, but the way to understand all these things.
Yeah.
To be fast.
But again, I mean, if you do this for 1 or 2 days and you practice, you will understand. You know,
Yeah.
well, there you go, guys. Max is saying, like, if there's a situation where I don't have time to get my hand off the wheel or whatever, then I use this one. Like if one corner follows one into the next, have a listen to that back. It's like Max has been training for exactly this situation in Baku. Have a look at the places where we're talking about where the changes are being made between 5 and 6 and between 8, 9, 10 and 11. Very, you know, unusual, uncharacteristic places to make a change. But that's genius. I can only pivot my position from being suspicious to that's genius. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. That's not luck. Max has been prepared for this exact moment and seemingly optimizing the car in places where other drivers would not think to optimize the car. And he's using that with the right hand push-pull toggle. Now, what is he changing on that push-pull toggle? What's that getting the car to do? Let's go back to the track map and have a think about it. I'm not sure. The only thing I can do is have a stab a little bit. In both of them, I feel like they're so slow speed and so clumsy, and Max always complains about understeer. I feel like they'd have something to do with the diff. That's my initial kind of reaction, because you want to get the nose into this corner. Likewise, this one. And you need to get the nose into this one because you want to open up 12 nicely. So I'm thinking diff has to be in there. But it doesn't need to be only diff. There might be even a downshift that happens there as well. There is the possibility that it's also multifaceted and can do engine braking. There is even a little push of the brake pedal gently. Could even be B-bell as well. And it's multifaceted, so it doesn't need to do like that push-pull toggle can make a few changes at once. The other thing it might do is on the exit, you're accelerating from very slow speed. So anything traction related, anything torque curve related, throttle mapping related. So I'm just going to put here, it could be to do with the throttle. It could also be to do with the engine torque. And when I say throttle, I mean throttle map. Could be torque map as well. It could be any of these. So sorry, I don't have an answer for you. But all I can say is I've pivoted my position from being suspicious and saying, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Having listened to that audio, Max prepared for exactly that moment. Well done. That's all I can say. Now, the fourth and final thing was the times of the race. And this is something I don't have an answer for you guys. So we talk about the black screen, which I was like, hang on. The warm button, the parts of the track, the times of the race. Last lap, last corner, 15 seconds in the lead. It flashes up BB offset. Let's have a look at that together. I'll show you guys here. So give me a sec. So have a look at steering wheel. Offset flashes up some sort of change with the right hand. So at this point, I'm looking here, lap 51, 15, 14.6 seconds in the lead. All is good. Why the need to make a BB offset change with the right thumb, presumably. This one I don't have an answer for. It's just Max doing Max things. Probably it's just like habit, you know, because you're just going around every lap doing the same changes at the same time. And it's like the downshifts. You're 4 gears into here, 3 gears into here, 2 downshifts here, brake balance forward here. It's just like routine and habit. But for me, looking at it like post race, and I have to give you guys only my honest, straight, instant, natural reactions to what I see. I was like, hang on, what's going on there? Final lap. But yeah, at this point, I can only say like that one, I'm going to tick it off as well and just say, it's probably just, he's just going through the motions. He's just driving like a robot at this point. He's just driving like a machine. So yeah. Did we address everything? As for the black screen and the warm button, I'm not sure. But as for the parts of the track, we have an answer to that one now. And as for the parts of the race, I think I have an answer for that one now as well in terms of just... guys, let me know in the comments. I'll take a few comments at this point and we'll just see, like, does that all make sense? I want to show you guys Yuki Tsunoda's on board as well. And we'll talk about Piastri as well. Doesn't F1 have access to the data of the cars during the races? How can Red Bull be sus without being found out? It's a good question. Like having a week or two now to reflect on it and be like, what's actually happening? And having found that video, you guys helped me find that video where Max is talking about this specific situation and how he sets up the wheel for this exact moment. I'm not sus about it anymore. So. Johan Finstra, this is the part of the special sauce Chris Harris talked about. Yes, bang. So everyone talks about, like, there's a few things with Max, right? There's Max the driver, inputs, brake, steering, throttle. Okay, he's good, excellent, fine, tick. Something I think is not spoken about often enough is, so that's what Max does, obviously. Something which I don't think is spoken about often enough is what Max doesn't do. And this is like such a hack. Like what champions don't do. They don't do the social media. They're not big on the gym. They're not big on extracurricular activities. They're not in Milan doing fashion week. You know, they're not walking around pets in the paddock. And I'm talking about Lewis here, obviously, rest in peace, Roscoe. But they're not doing all that extracurricular activities such that they've got capacity and focus to nail this, right? To nail this. So that's where Chris was, he was searching big time for what is the secret sauce. Oh, is that it? Oh, no, it's not that. Is it that? No, it's not that. Is it the braking? Or is it the line? Or, you know what I mean? I'm like, hang on, look at what Max doesn't do. He's in a car as near as making a difference every single day, whether that be a sim or an actual car, at least every week, right? I'm exaggerating. He's in a car every single week, every single day. He's driving as near as making a difference all the time. Like, he's done clearly more driving than anyone else on the grid. I think when testing got decreased, like when we moved away from actual testing, all of the drivers thought, oh, there's no testing. What do I do? Play golf, play tennis. And Max is like, no. Opportunity. Like, he just loves driving and he loves working out how to be quick. So I think what he doesn't do is very underspoken about. And now we've got Max, the problem solver as well. Ability to diagnose problems, ability to identify where the problems are, ability to solve them, ability to recognize and optimize for solutions, ability to think critically out of the box, ability to set up the car and optimize it on differential, engine braking, brake balance, throttle maps, corner to corner, in between corners. Like now you've got Max, the optimizer as well. So there's a few pieces there. So yes, Johan, very good. Let's have a look what you guys are saying. Enzo, you do that 50 times, your muscle memory just does it. Yeah, I agree. You just go around the track and you're just doing the same thing. And yeah, I agree with that one. Why would you change the feeling of the car during the last lap? By not making the changes you were making all other laps. That last part you've written there, I can't confirm or deny. If he was not doing it all the other laps. I presume he was. Otherwise, I wouldn't know why he would either. If he wasn't doing it all of the other laps, and he just did it in the last lap, I would be like, yeah, that's a bit strange. Presumably, and I should double check, but if anyone has an onboard and can confirm or deny, presumably he was doing it at least most, if not all other laps. Presumably, I could be wrong there. Well, this is a good one. I was thinking he was going for fastest lap on the final lap, so he's still making changes. That's a good one I didn't think of. Even though there's no point for it though anymore, but still maybe. You guys are saying some really good comments. May Q, champions don't do distractions. 100%. If I was interviewing Max in that Chris Harris thing, I'd be like surely there's an unfair advantage to Max's work ethic. Like, if you're going to beat Max, you've got to get up very early in the morning. You've got to get up at 4 a.m., do your sim hours, talk to coaches, talk to mentors, do more laps, try different cars, try different tracks, forwards, backwards, reverse, GT3, F1. You've got to be like, to beat Max, you've got to get up very early because Max is not doing any of the other stuff. Like, his social media is just very neutral. There you go. Right? RADR. Max does GT3 racing instead of golf. 100%. Luke, man, no testing means work more on your mental, work more on your racing techniques. 100%. So I think this is where we're starting to understand that if you actually dedicate yourself to your sport as a professional, look at the advantage that you can stretch on your competition. Max comes into races so much better prepared than anyone else. So yeah. Just relax. Althava, bro, he wasn't cheating. Yeah, we get it. We got to that already. Michael, I'm not convinced that he wasn't cheating. I'm convinced now. Like, I just having heard from what Max and Mark saying, yeah, if it's between corners, I set it up with this toggle so I can make changes. Having heard that now, I'm like, okay, he's worked and practiced for this exact moment. I'd be curious to see why you think it is cheating at the moment. Okay, now check this out. I want to show you guys, this is Max, the difference maker, the optimizer. Have a look at Yuki Tsunoda's lap now. Let's have a look, do a little compare and contrast. I'll go back because this is all happening super quick. Hang on. All right, so we're entering where Max made his first change, 5 and 6. Look at the steering wheel. See third gear. Let me just get rid of that comment. Bang. No change. Nothing flashes up here. No news here. So then we continue down to turn 7. No news here either. Max pushed the warm button on the exit here. Nothing from Yuki. Into this section, I wouldn't expect anything anyway. Nothing here either. So then you want to ask yourself, like, is Yuki seeing the data? Is Max holding things back in practice? Are Max and Yuki driving the same type of car through these corners? Because Max can open the diff, change engine braking, help the throttle mapping on the exit. At that point, it becomes like a different handling car on your entry to 6, on your entry to 11 as well. So like, I've got a lot of questions there with Yuki, like what's happening there. I'm not sure. I don't have the answers there. But you compare Max's changes at very interesting, precise, profound locations. And then you compare Yuki's lap, no changes at all. And you're like, why not? So I'm not sure. Have a look at this. I wanted to talk to you guys about Piastri as well. This was just before Oscar Piastri crashed in Baku. And what you should see is his hand on the steering wheel, the right hand. No news here. And then the right hand still on the wheel, right index finger comes up. Bang, a brake balance flashes up and some sort of offset flashes up as well, presumably, or some other setting. I'm not sure what this -3 is here. But I call this out to you guys for saying, well, other drivers also have presets at the back of the steering wheel, but they're even using them in situations where, like, it's not, Max set that up, that push-pull toggle behind the wheel for that exact direction change, turn 5 and 6 situation. Whereas Oscar's just like, yeah, I'm sure he's got other ways to change brake balance on the wheel, but he's just doing it here, you know, on the straight. This is on the run down to turn 5. So with time, presumably. Now, it might just be like, it's obviously a lot more comfortable in that position. But yeah, I thought I'd call it out. I'd be curious to know, does Oscar make those changes in the mid corner as well? Like between, in the middle of chicanes? I'd be keen to know. Have a look at this video that I got from Oscar as well. He talks through the steering wheel. This is really interesting.
One steering wheel in 60 seconds. Here we go. So we've got these rotaries here that do a bunch of stuff, change the diff, the engine braking, brake bias, stuff like that. We've got the radio toggle here.
So he mentioned brake bias on one of the rotaries, which he didn't want to use it in the Baku example.
Overtake button, a marker button, which we can use for engineers to look at stuff. Neutral, these are our shift lights up here. We've got the FIA warning lights as well on the side. This is our dash where we see our gear, all sorts of different stuff on there. We've got the 3 multi-function switches. So this one is just our engine modes and stuff. And these 2 are for defaults, so to cancel sensors if stuff goes wrong. We then have the pit lane speed limiter, the recharge button, and then we have these +10 and +1 buttons for going through all the different defaults to change stuff.
Have a listen now at the back of the steering wheel.
On the back, quickly, we have the clutch paddles, gear shifts. We have these brake biases, and then some other toggles that you can set to whatever you want. There you go.
That last part was interesting. Just at the back, I'm going to play that again.
And +1 buttons for going through all the different defaults to change stuff. On the back, quickly, we have the clutch paddles, gear shifts. We have these brake biases, and then some other toggles that you can set to whatever you want. There you go.
There you go. So Oscar's got it set up as well. We have these brake biases and other toggles that you can set to whatever you want as well. So that's good from McLaren. I'm not sure if Max has that, like you guys will know probably more than me, if Max has that third like clutch paddle thing plus the little toggle as well. So there's options for the drivers. They're multifaceted, right? You can push one button and it can change everything from diff. You know, so I call that out because it's going to be an opportunity this weekend to optimize as well. But Max seems to be like, you talk about Schumacher, like Schumacher was the first one to change corner to corner brake balance. And at that time it was like, wow, he's changing it between the corners. Like, isn't that amazing? Michael, you know, he's full optimizing the car for the braking between corners. And then you had probably after Schumacher, it was like Rosberg, who just went to all sorts of levels, you know, thinned out his gloves, worked with mental coaches, sleep, nutrition, diet, lost weight on his legs to lower his center of gravity, stripped all the paint off his helmet. You know, he did all these other little things to optimize the situation as well. Obviously went through all of the dash. If you watch Nico's YouTube videos, he's always like making changes. He's always talking about the changes that he makes, you know, between corners. So there was Rosberg, and now clearly there's Max as well. So I'd put him in that category at the moment. Someone had a good comment. Give me a sec. Atharva Mahatme, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. Max is a perfectionist. He's already confident with the car, so he's got more room to change and tweak settings. Yeah, good one. Yeah, Yuki is underconfident, so he drives the car like it is. Wow. Very good. I agree. Huddy Mac, the Red Bull is not as bad a car as the media want us to believe. They won 4 of the last championships. You don't just become slow. Okay. I believe RB's car is more of a setup than a development issue. Yeah, well, like I say, at this point, like when Yuki's not making those changes intra-lap, it's like they're almost driving different cars. That switch could be responsible for like 10 things. And then it's like, at that point, doesn't it become a different handling car? Obviously, that's why Max wants to make the change. So why is this important? Why am I telling you this big story about steering wheels? Well, firstly, to clarify the position again, and just, again, you guys, hopefully we're all on the same page now, and we all agree on that. And because it's going to be another talking point this weekend. If we see Max get pole, we're going to look straight at the steering wheel and see what's going on. So come over. Let's have a look at the whiteboard. Yeah, Carlos's crash. Cool. Yeah, let's talk about the track map now. We'll show you guys around. It's going to be a long live stream, guys, but hopefully there's a bit of learning going on. All right. So yeah, there will be places where this sort of thing is going to happen. Now that we know this, you know, surely into 3, maybe there's an opportunity for a change across here, because 3 is that long, clumsy corner again with the front end grip. Whereas you've got downforce with you when you break into 1, you don't necessarily when you break and turn into turn 3 that significant or that much. Probably see another opportunity for a change into the hairpin here. Again, same situation. Just tricky to get the car rotated around this hairpin. in the middle of Singapore, turn 13. There might be some ideas there. So there you go. Now, I wanted to tell you guys, why do you think I've got these 3 red circles over here? I'll highlight it for you guys. This one, and this one. Come on, we spoke about it in Baku. What are the 2 techniques that we're going to use in these corners? Hit me up in the chat while I have a drink. And we'll try to whiz through the strategy. We'll try to whiz through the strategy and all that stuff as well, hopefully, because, yeah, I want to talk more about driving technique and stuff. And I want to take your questions as well. Safety car restart? No. It's probably a bit early for that, but we will talk about safety car restart. And I'm asking, what's interesting about these corners that was similar in Baku? That is the question. What are you guys saying in the chat? Take a drink. Let's have a look. Estonia duck, straight line traction. Very good. I'll bring it up, but it's not yet on my, I'm reading it on my phone. It's not yet available on my PC. Yeah, the Estonia duck, straight line traction. Good one. So then what's 10? So while you answer 10, let's have a look at straight line traction. Good one. Very good. My audience are legends. Got the best audience in the world here, guys. I'm so grateful for you guys. All right, straight line traction. So if you just told someone, oi, draw the racing line here, what they're probably going to draw, if I draw it in red, give me a sec, not so thick. They're going to draw like, everyone draws S shapes. So come through here. You get all this, S shapes. Massive problem here, guys. I'll highlight it for you in green. Yeah, massive problem here. We spoke about the steering wheel straight, didn't we? We spoke about that before. And I said to you guys, how important is it to get the steering wheel straight? Very important. So what do you need to do therefore? I'll just remove some of these. So what do you need to do? It's very similar to Baku, same sort of thing. You want to come through here and then here, just get the steering wheel straight for a fraction of a second, accelerate the car, shift, take your first shift, get some downforce built on the car. You can always bring it across at the end and resume that position. It's all good. Same thing here. On this exit, it's crucial that you just ride the wall for a fraction of a second. You can bring the car across later and do the same thing. So you're gaining in acceleration and traction. And actually in the race for rear tires, that's a big one. That's going to help you extend your stints, keep close to the car in front, look after your rear tires, manage rear tire temperatures, straight line traction. Good job, guys. Lukman, Hakim, traction. Yeah, bang. All right. So the next part is, why is that one highlighted in turn 10? You guys should know George Russell crashed here, right? George's crash, bang, here, ended up in the wall. So let's have a look. This one's going to be your straight line braking. So again, the highlights the importance of having the steering wheel straight. If you notice, and I'll just exaggerate, like a little curved braking zone just there. I'll just zoom in on the curvature. You can see it. I'll go make this a bit smaller. Just like curves that way. It's curving like that way. So then what you want to do is line up your straight line braking. So if I draw in red what's like, not incorrect, because straight line braking is always debatable. You know, it doesn't have to be straight line braking. But if I draw in red the racing line, you're turning through that curvature while you're braking. So there's a chance you can pinch the right front on the entry here. Whereas straight line braking says, then I come through, come here, and then just line up, like full line up your braking and just fire the car in like that with straight line braking. Remember, steering wheel straight gives you more braking capacity. So then obviously the issue with that one is George Russell clips the right front on the wall, because you're actually making a prediction at this point when you line up your straight line braking where you're going to end up over here. So depending on how aggressive you are with your straight line braking, that's the reason George hit the wall there with the right front, was still using the straight line braking technique there. Can happen. There's no, like, you know, it's just an accident. There's no like, well, here's the solution or anything like that. But yes, there is, it's not so much as bad as Baku, but yeah, like there's a straight line braking event that happens there as well. Good job, guys. Very proud of you guys. There's a straight line braking and straight line traction opportunities as well. Now, other than that, I think chicanes and hairpins are the order of the day with downforce. So let's have a look and see what we got. I guess a sort of chicane here, sort of. Not really. I don't know. They loosely fall into the definition of chicanes. Normally, I'm after the entry curb in chicanes, but in this case, if that leaves you like mid-track, then I don't want that. So I would rather miss that part, come here and just make sure like you can carry the best speed into 3. This one's more important. So loosely a chicane, but curb riding, direction change, actually having the steering wheel straight again on braking is very important. Because again, slow speed, clumsiness, no downforce at that point is tricky. Very low downforce at that point, I should say. So chicane there, I guess a bit here as well. And I'll be watching this curb. I'll be curious about this curb this weekend as well. Can you hook your right front into that one? That's going to be really helpful to open up straight line at the exit, keep the steering wheel straight and give you good traction here. Whereas if you go around, you got to go around, you're putting more steering in. So I'll be watching this turn 11 curb as an opportunity this weekend. You've got your hairpin. I'm talking about technical corners here, guys. This one is undoubtedly a chicane. Bang, there's your chicane. So you've got 2 or 3 chicanes and a hairpin. So yes, someone wrote in the chat before and said, why was Sebastian Vettel so good? Was it the curb riding? Yeah, it's all that curbs, cambers, dips, crests, elevations, bumps. Yeah, it's all very dynamic. So you've got to be just dancing the car and like just predicting like when the car resettles, that's when I want to put the steering wheel in. Once it's settled, then I'm going to turn and brake and go and so on. And when you take the curbs, just kind of lay off the pedals a little bit and that sort of thing. So yeah, and downforce is back this weekend. I don't have the speeds here, cornering speeds, unfortunately, but all of this is going to be undertaken with more downforce than what we had in Baku and Monza. So that's going to be, yeah, that's going to be interesting. Cool. Let's move on just briefly. We'll talk quickly about compounds and strategy. We'll do some predictions, safety car. We're going to whiz through this section super quick and then I'll take your questions. All right, let's have a look. The compounds. Pirelli has made no changes since last year for the dry weather compounds at Marina Bay C3, C4 and C5. So they're pretty soft. Yeah. Although there still exists the softer C6 that no one wanted to use in Baku, by the way, because it was a marshmallow. When the compounds for the second part of the season were announced during the Hungarian Grand Prix, evaluations carried out, they ruled it out. I love this media from Pirelli. The forces exerted in high temperatures might have created some overheating. Well, that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see, the overheating. Let's see it. So anyway, I'm exaggerating here for a fact, but obviously I'm kind of over the whole strategy thing. I'm over the whole inability to race with these regulations. It's a bit frustrating, sorry. In fact, in this race, thermal stress is the main concern. Medium and hard will be the compounds of choice for the race, but the soft could come into play for a driver wanting to make the most at the start. That's true. That's true. Track position is key this year, remember. But it's a very short run down to turn 1. You'd be brave to put a soft on, and if it doesn't work out, your race is cooked. Or if there's a safety car towards the end of the race. Okay. Modifications made to the track layout a couple of years ago mean overtaking is a bit easier, although obviously it is still rather complicated to get past another car. I would concur, sir. Therefore, being able to call on the big performance difference between relatively new softs and medium hards could be a factor to bear in mind. I can hear by the tone in whoever's written this that they're not that optimistic about us having a good race. I don't know. Do you guys get that vibe as well? Let me know in the chat. I just feel like, could be a factor. Relatively, obviously, it's complicated to get past. I just feel like the tones is a little bit pessimistic. Now, I might also add that they've upped the pit lane speed limit this weekend from 60 to 80. They did that in Netherlands last time out. Again, it's a step in the right direction, but it's like they're trying to make it work. But yeah, that's what this sounds like, right? Sounds like, a bit like, it's a bit average. I don't know. I think Pirelli are going to come out with a little bit more enthusiasm. Like, this is going to be a mad race. It's 40 degrees. Tires are going to explode. You know, just like sell it a little bit more. I don't know. Let's have a look what happened last year as well. Bring the, yeah, here we go. So this was last year. Can you guys see that? Yeah. So, I mean, this is what they're going to do, right? Medium, hard, and they just follow each other for a bit. They box when they need to box because someone behind them boxed and there's a gap that opened up. It's going to be all that stuff. So I like Singapore as a driver's track. Mad fun, like good track. Yeah, awesome. I think it will be tricky to pass, unfortunately. It'll be a strategic race, but qualifying will be cool to watch. So yeah, sorry guys, I'm not that hopeful about the strategic options. My predictions for this weekend, if I could just quickly lay them out there. With downforce, okay, here's the thing. I'm in two minds. Never write off Max, and we know he's a master at optimizing everything. He's going to get the most out of that Red Bull. Never do that. But now I'm like, hang on, we're back to downforce. We're back to the Hungary and Netherlands kind of high downforce setup. We're back in the heat. We're back in McLaren territory. Surely one of those guys can get it over the line. I'm in two minds about that. I'm going to just have a very low confidence stab and say Oscar, because in those races, Oscar out-qualified Lando in Hungary. Lando won that race with the different strategy, but all things being equal, I think Oscar had his measure in Hungary. And then he just out-qualified him right at the end in Netherlands as well. Lando blew up in Netherlands. Oscar went on to win that one. I just feel like if it's anything like that, maybe Oscar. But then you go back last year, Lando hammered everyone. Do you take that into account? I don't know. My prediction is Oscar. I'd love to hear yours now as well. Restarts, have a look. I don't think it's going to be, again though, right? Just as I look, this bump here, you've got to be careful, right? You don't want to kick the race off with the full tank of fuel here and then whoop, you're in the wall color Sainz style. So just, my advice with the restart is do it wherever you want, somewhere in this green area, obviously, but don't mess it up. Just, you know, just hope. I don't think there'll be a problem unless you get too creative. But I think exit the final chicane, exit 17. On the exit of 17, you're the first one with the steering wheel straight. Give it a nice lift into the final corner, and away you go. That one's pretty straightforward. And turn one, lap one. Yeah, this is actually a big story in Singapore. It's going to be a bit of chaos and drama. Turn one, there always is. You know, really. There's always a lot of pressure into turn one. So yeah. You guys know, if you've been following the channel for a while, the two things I'm looking for on the race start are space and grip. If you can find yourself space or grip, then take it. Take the space or take the grip, or take both if you can. That's what made Hamilton's 2007 start in Melbourne very good. He found a place on the track where he satisfied both space and grip. It'd be tricky to find space. You might be able to find space and grip on the outside of 3. I feel like there's maybe more opportunities going around 3. You get the inside into 5. Or if, yeah, that's probably not a bad play actually. Maybe if there's grip out here as well. It'll be tricky. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on the entry to 1 as well. So, okay. So look guys, I know that was a pretty intense live. I will take your questions. Let's take a 2-minute break, grab yourself a drink, come back. Put your questions in the chat now. I'll answer them. We'll do a bit of a Q&A and then we'll wrap up. Alrighty, welcome back. All good. Let's have a look at what questions have we got? Max Flashheart. Make sure to write question at the start to help Martin see them. Thanks, Max. Cheers, man. All right, Luke, man. Question, Martin. Why was Vettel so fast in Singapore? Riding curbs, chicane, different car setup. Well, that's a good question. Yes, I mean, you can't underestimate how important the curb riding is, the way you take the curbs. We spoke about chicane, and hairpin. So from that standpoint, yeah, it's important that when you connect in with the curb, you unload the inside front tire so that it makes nice compliant contact. Yeah, I reckon it's that. I think I spoke, when we did the Canada live stream, I think I showed some images of Vettel's pole in Canada. He got some poles there in 2018, 2019, I want to say somewhere through there. Or maybe 17, 18. Ferrari, Vettel, Canada, 2018, something like that. Have a look at that onboard if you can. He's smashing the entry curb in chicane. It's beautiful technique. You guys know the entry curb really unlocks the chicane. One of my philosophies. So yes, it's that. It's just the ability to just connect in with the right parts of the track and just. Lewis put an amazing lap together around here in 2018. I feel like, and I can't say with a high degree of confidence, but I feel like that was more just getting the tires into the window and getting them for the whole lap. Actually, that's something we didn't speak about, is like higher temperature across the lap. Towards the end of the lap, the rears are going to be pretty hot. So do you play it safe a little bit in the first couple of corners, keep that high temperature under control, and then give yourself some grip at the end of the lap? You know, and we spoke about FP2 being raining. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that knowledge in your quali run. So that could be a factor as well. But yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think that's a big part of it, Lukeman. Yes. All right. C Saba Toth. Hello. Hello. Who do you think is going to be the runner-up in the Constructors' Championship? Not Ferrari. Yeah, because I guess everyone's saying like Ferrari. Ferrari are there holding it at the moment, but then you got Mercedes and Red Bull. Probably Red Bull. You know, if they've found something on the car where Yuki's now inside the top 10, qualified P6 in Baku, you know, probably took a lot of learnings from that. Max is now winning back-to-back races. Probably momentum with Red Bull. If I had to have a guess, I'd say Red Bull. But keen to know what you guys think in the chat as well. Johan Finstra, papaya rules are more important for Zach than prioritizing the number one at McLaren driver in a fight with Max for the World Drivers' Championship. Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it? Seems like that. I don't know, that there is a how can I explain this? Like, I think I said it best when I say Red Bull are a race team. They go racing, they're aggressive, they're willing to make the strategic calls and optimize the car. And do you know what I mean? They trim the wing and grind the rear wing a little bit. You know, they're a race team. I feel like McLaren are an engineering team, and everything has to be scripted and by the book and the rules and emotionless, and don't play the chances too much, keep it conservative and play the probabilistic outcomes, and everything's deterministic and all this kind of rubbish. I just feel like sometimes Red Bull just make them look silly sometimes. And I love that, because racing is, it's not always, you know, there's a level of consciousness higher than just data and numbers. There's an intuition, a feel, an instinct, or an experience aspect that you can draw on, or like Max in Monza is just like, I feel like that's worth so much more than just. And look, you need both, right? You need your engineers and you guys, your scholars, and then you need your experienced, practical, knowledgeable racers who understand racing as well. You need both. You can't be too heavy on one side or the other. But I feel like they are. I feel like Red Bull are more of an aggressive race team, and McLaren are, for me, an engineering team operating a race car. That's how I see it. What do you guys think? Can you guys hear me okay? Max Flashhearts is muted. You guys should be able to hear me okay. Oh, you're muted. Okay, cool. Enzo, if rain is a factor in quali, who do you think will get pole? Let me go back to the weather for a sec. So look, the reason I just bring up the weather just for a second, give me a sec. The reason I bring up the weather is because I don't think it will be a factor. I mean, Saturday, we saw before on where the rain's coming, right? Yeah, Saturday. Yeah. So you're looking at 2, 4, 6, 8. It should be all right. Should be all right, ends. Should be all good, mate. Don't worry. But look, if it is a factor, well, you're looking at your Regenmeisters. You're looking at your Maxes. Maybe Lewis. George is pretty good as well. I think Lando is pretty solid in the wet as well. Probably those guys. You probably can't go past Max, right? You got to give Max an additional weighting of probability in the wet, I reckon. So who do I think? Max. K Mbappe fan, who do you think will be the best if everyone had the car to their liking? That's such a good question. Well, because it's different to have equal cars. The car to their liking means that Max has mega front end grip that he loves and wants. And Lewis has the rear grip that he keeps talking about. And, Leclerc gets whatever he wants, his braking stability, and doesn't lock as many brakes. So everyone gets what they want in their techniques. Pretty cool question. I don't know whether the best, but I think Lewis would take a jump forward. If you gave Lewis, said, here's your rear grip, here's your front grip, here's everything you need, here's the car, go. I think Lewis would take a jump forward. Seems like Max is doing exactly that. I feel like Max is optimizing, solving, working out how to get the car more to his liking, solving for slow speed understeer. It's a big limitation of the Red Bull. So I think Max is solving for that and working on that and then getting it more to his liking. So essentially you're asking who's the best, right? So probably Max. And this is an interesting conversation because everyone says Max, Charles, George. And I agree, right? They are in the top. But everyone seems to forget old Fernando in the back, double world champion, beat Schumacher, he's quality. For me, he's in there before the McLaren drivers. So you've got, in my book, and you guys let me know this is a conversation, I got Max, I got George, and I've got Charles, Fernando, like equal third. And then I've got Oscar. So I hope that answers your question. All right. Wow, there's so many questions. Give me a sec. Don't swear, KJM. Let's have a look. Cameron Aikman. If Max is somewhat close to the McLarens, i.e. 10 seconds off, knowing that this is a bad track for Red Bull, could he have a chance of winning the championship? Yeah, it's a good shout. It depends the extent of the damage this weekend as well. Yeah, if Max can be close, 100%, then he for sure he's in it. I still think he's in it. Anything can happen. There could be rain in Brazil, could be night races in Vegas, going to be super cold. There's going to be more street tracks, going to be more chaos. Like it's going to be chaos. There's going to be more chaos. So it's very wide open at this stage. McLaren Center, hey mate, great stream. Thank you. If you have a question, McLaren Center, drop it in, mate. Max and Fernando will fight the McLaren for pole if raining. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100% with the comparison RB versus McLaren. Oh, you're talking about the race team, engineering team thing? Yeah. Look what Red Bull did with the rear wing in Monza or instance of Max. Not sure McLaren would have had the guts to go for it. Exactly. Yeah, they wouldn't have followed the intuition. There's no way they would have made a racer's call like that. Yeah, I agree. Good shout, Denise. No more questions? Mike, what's happening to McLaren? Do you think Verstappen can catch up? What's happening is McLaren are not optimizing for their package. They've got a mad package, but you saw the changes Max is making on the Baku pole lap. Optimizing, it's a difference in extents now. Max is optimizing the hell out of everything. The setup, himself, his driving, the gears, the shifts, the brake balance, engine braking, the diff. Like Max is full, just the rear wing, like he's optimizing all of it. McLaren have a mad package, but I'm not sure whether they know how to identify, problem solve, and again, a difference in extents, right? I don't want to be too harsh on McLaren. They're a great race team. But to the extent that Max and Red Bull can, I just think McLaren, in quote unquote, don't know how to do that as well, And they're out playing golf when they need to be driving, right? Yeah. Bol, I love the chaos in F1. All right, let's take one more question because we've been going for a little while. Who's got the last one? Lucky last. Oh, there's so many questions I missed here. Sorry, guys. Let me go back and have a look. Okay, that's why. All right, Catherine, good question. I'll answer these now. Sorry, this chat comes in a little bit late, so I know you guys are asking questions. I'm not getting to them. Catherine writes, do you think losing Roscoe will affect Lewis's mindset negatively with grieving or will motivate him positively? It's a tough question. It's a personal question. I'm not sure. All I can say is rest in peace, Roscoe. And I hope that, I hope it doesn't affect him, but, surely it will a little bit. But here's the thing, when you're driving, when the helmet's on, when the engine's on, when you're qualifying in Singapore, you're not necessarily thinking about Roscoe. Yeah, you get out of the car and go have dinner and you're probably like, yeah, whatever. But then again, in that environment, and that's the beautiful thing about driving motorsport, you're so present. You have to be so present. You can't have anything else. So like to that extent, no. But his mood coming into the paddock, yeah, maybe. Sorry, there's heaps of questions now. I found them all. All right, Luke, man. Question, Martin, why was Vettel? Oh, okay, I've answered that one. Sir, question. Since the corners are slightly different to Baku, where you don't brake in a straight line on entry, but instead have to brake and turn, do you see Mercedes struggling or strong like in Baku? That's a good question. I think with Baku, it had more to do with the temperature. You know, Mercedes just temperatures came a little bit more into that Mercedes cooler window. Like keep an eye out for them in Vegas, right? They should be strong there. I don't think it was necessarily the shapes in corner. I think it was more of a temperature thing. Yeah. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. But you're right. You're definitely right. Like tearing down the Baku, turn 2 to 3, you break in a straight line. Whereas here, you're right. You're 100% right. There is a difference in cornering geometries here. You're combining a lot more the entries. Yeah, you're right. That's maybe a good point. Maybe I should consider that one a little bit more. I feel like temperature is going to be a factor. Let's keep an eye out for that. That's a good one. Huddy Mac, I'm not sure if I'm correct, but I've noticed Lewis jerks the steering wheel when he turns in, whereas Max is progressive with the steering input. Is that maybe why he's been struggling with these regs? You need to check out my video. Like, I think it's entitled The Technical Reason Why Lewis Hamilton is Struggling, something like that. It's in the My Philosophies section of the channel in the playlist. Yeah, like Lewis is known to go all in on the entries, brake late, brake hard, pull the car up, sort everything out at the apex. Max is known to be a lot more progressive and just suss the corner out, just feel it out. Am I going where I want to go? Do I have the front grip? If I keep going where I want to go, what's going to happen? And I'm talking about long corners of constant radius here. So everything has to be in that context. I'm not talking about chicanes, hairpins, S's, whatever. Generally speaking, long corner of constant radius. Go check out that video because you'll learn a lot. Check that one out and check the Hungary live stream as well. That'll help you with that one. So yes, I think you're directionally correct there. Yeah. Cool. Last question. Adrian Garcia Zaragoza. Why does Aston Martin have such inconsistent performance across GPs? You're asking a driver coach. Not sure, sorry. I mean, seems like when they put the downforce on, like heavily on, and the direction changes there, like the Netherlands and Hungary in the long corners, seems like they've got good front grip. That's what you need. But then, you know, we just had Monza and Baku. They're very different tracks. Monza and Baku sit over here. Netherlands and Hungary, they sit over here from a technical corner perspective and from a downforce level perspective. So that might be why in the last few races. Let's see this weekend, we're back to more of that setup where it's about downforce and direction change and slow speed and everything. Cool. Okay. So live stream summary, what are we looking out for? Well, I think the biggest story will be, yeah, let's have a look at the pole lap and the changes that are being made and where they're being made. And if it's Max, will it be between turn 1 and 3 in the middle of that chicane and 11, 12, 13 just before the hairpin as well, potentially. We'll have a look at how the tire temperatures change over the lap. Have a look for those drivers maybe conserving a little bit. Turn 1, 2, 3 for a little bit more grip at the end of the lap. I'm looking out for that as well. And just who's like underprepared in quali because we've got the rain on in FP2 coming our way as well. So I think it's more of a qualifying race for me, optimizing tire temperatures, optimizing the car between the corners, riding the curbs in chicanes, carrying the downforce through the final corner. Those are the key things that I'm looking out for this weekend. As always, thank you guys. I'll see you after the practice sessions. We'll run through everything, see how we went with our predictions and go from there. If I could ask you to drop a comment on your way out to the video, if you had a question, I didn't get to it, or you had a thought or another comment of some kind, drop it in the comment section below. We'll read it. It helps boost the channel, of course. Thanks for coming to the live. See you guys tomorrow.